Bookend Lessons is just an instructional practice that we implement as a school district in order to make sure teachers have opportunities to teach students skills, as well as allow students to reflect upon where they are in relation to those skills. So things like collaboration, communication, agency. Are they completing their work on time according to specifications? Are they working well with their peers? And so this initiative that we're calling Bookend Lessons is really just an opportunity for us to frame those conversations with kids as a way to try to teach them to obtain those skills.
The term bookend comes from the supports at the end of books. So essentially we have a lesson that is student-centered. It has an activity, and the students have an opportunity to practice that skill, and then we bookend it. So at the beginning of the lesson, the students set a goal on a particular skill. They engage in the lesson, they learn content, they practice the skill, and at the end, they reflect on whether or not they've met their goal.
So they do that pre-assessment of themselves on how they perform with those skills, do the awesome lesson given by their teachers, and then at the end they're gonna tell whether or not they grew, stayed the same, or maybe got worse throughout their skill as they kind of watch themselves practice through it.
It's not a curriculum on its own, right? It's not its standout. You can apply it to anything.
You know, I'm a math teacher. I love math, but I understand that the things that I'm teaching are not always going to translate into everyday life, but these skills do.
Math can so easily provide problems to solve. That's already there. That's a given. That's easy. But to work as a team, that's a skill that we can use. We're learning our math thing, but in this bookend lesson, we're also going to encourage you to increase your skills of being able to listen to other people. You learn the skill of you're not always right. Maybe sometimes you're not looking at it the right way. So all that stuff can happen, like I said, in this experience that's different than here's another worksheet, do 1 to 7.
The bookend lessons can be easily aligned with our curriculum or Common Core standards. What's fun is finding the exact one that matches what you want to teach. So we can use a jigsaw lesson to see whether or not the kids are self-directed, can they stay motivated, can they work independently.
So the bookend lesson allows us to practice a skill while students are learning the content.
We all kind of already do this. So we have students that collaborate all the time. But how do we make them recognize that they're collaborating? I don't want people to get too hung up on how long this takes and how much effort has to be put into it. It's really just 5 minutes of the entire class period, a couple minutes beforehand, break for not even a minute in the middle, remind them, and then in the follow-up in the end.
Bookend lessons are a structure that help us better align what's happening in the classroom with the knowledge, skills, and attributes that we've identified on our portrait of a graduate. So if we want our students to graduate with skills, we have to design opportunities for them to learn and practice the skills.
Or we're giving an opportunity for them to use essential skills like grit, determination, problem-solving skills in a way that teacher-directed instruction doesn't otherwise give them. So when they're practicing these essential skills, they model the macular portrait of a graduate, and when they graduate, they'll be able to go into our community, and our communities will say, wow, like how amazing are these graduates that graduated from Bay City Public Schools.
When our kids leave K-12 education, and whether they decide to go right into the workforce or they decide that they want to go into the skilled trades or a job, those are the skills that they're going to need for success leaving our K-12 system.
You know, teaching collaboration and teaching communication, all of those things that we used to take for granted, we can't anymore. Those skills are needing to be taught and modeled.
And that's what we are intentionally teaching through Bookend Lessons, is those skills that are integrated in our portrait of a graduate.
Philosophically, something that's really important to us is that we provide our teachers with frameworks of what instruction is possible, and we provide them with tools and resources, but it really is up to them to make that work in a classroom setting. And so it's been so refreshing to see them connect with each other around all of the innovative ways that they're figuring that out and making it work. And so our commitment as a district is to continue to provide them with access to each other and to additional resources as we find them in order to connect those dots so that they can run with it and do the wonderful work that they do with our kids.
Bookend lessons are a work in progress. I've had some really great lessons that I'm like, hey, I'm proud of the way the kids did this. I'm proud of the way I did this. And I have had some where I'm like, ooh, that needs some work. But the fact that we have each other to lean on because we're all doing this, that has helped the process, and it has helped me grow as a teacher because I am able to kind of share what I'm doing with my colleagues, and I'm able to grow from that.
So by having everyone in the district trained on Bookend Lessons, it provides us with a common language to collaborate around. So we meet regularly during our PD sessions and we look at student work, and through those protocols we're able to help each other develop Bookend Lessons, do better next time, analyze how our students did, learn from one another, and because we all have the same training and can speak a similar language, it helps us to go much deeper in those conversations.
Like we have our CLC meetings, and we do talk about these Bookend lessons and the pros that we've seen, and we get feedback from each other.
Well, we have CLCs after school where we meet with our departments, and our department has decided that we wanted to focus on Bookend lessons for one of our CLC cycles. We're able to use some of our ideas as a sounding board with one another. We're able to share what has worked, what has not worked. And the fact that our whole district is doing this, Handy, they've been doing this longer than us. They're definitely a few steps ahead of us, but the fact that we can talk to them about this and rely on them, find out about their past success and their past failures, I think that we're really at an advantage in that regard because we can get a lot of ideas from them and bounce ideas off one another.
Aside from CLCs, professional development, and grade level meetings, my teammate and I, the other fourth grade teacher, we exchange Bookend lessons. So she's able to try a lesson that I've done and vice versa. We'll meet together, did it work, what needs to be tweaked, and that's great because now we have two teachers and two groups of students performing that Bookend lesson.
We literally collaborate every single day, making sure that we're doing what's best for our students, and especially for those Bookend lessons, because sometimes when I have done something and I share with her, she's like, oh, that's a great idea, or I did it this way, and we can just kind of bounce off each other to do the best thing for our students.
We do that on a regular basis in our CLCs and our PDs, and during our planning time, our grade level does that, where we'll plan our Bookend lessons together, but we'll do them on different days so we can bounce ideas back and forth, what worked and didn't work, and maybe we should try something else the next time. So that makes our Bookend lessons a lot more successful.
The time to talk to our teammates and talk to our staff members about how they're doing it and how they're approaching it is really great.
And that's really powerful because we are each other's best resource, and we're really able to work through the challenges and celebrate the successes together.
We're able to collaborate with people from the other schools. It's nice to get their take on everything too.
If we can raise awareness, so show students that these skills are important, not only name them, but give them a rubric on what they can do and what they can do to improve, the odds of them working on those and improving them once they've set a goal are much more likely than if we just put them in groups and hope that they can collaborate.
Through looking at the process of it and talking it with my colleagues, I was able to really think about, like, no, it's the student reflection and it's the rubric piece that draws that connection for student learning.
It's just taking a lot of these student-centered practices that we've been doing and teaching kids how to self-reflect by using a rubric so that those student-centered practices are a little bit more effective.
Because it sets the expectation, it sets the framework, and it allows kids to grow without really even know they're growing.
We actually took all the rubrics and we made posters out of them. And on the posters, we put pictures of them doing something that was agency, doing something that was collaboration or communication. And so the rubric helps them stay focused and gives them a goal.
Because of these rubrics and what the kids are focusing on, they're creating an environment where their classmates feel safe to share their opinion without any conflict. because now they're focusing on a certain skill and setting their own goal. And that has really unified our class.
I didn't create it, but I use a Google form at the end, and I have them reassess themselves using their Google form. And by using the Google form, I can see what they scored themselves before and after and make a beautiful little bar chart that shows how they've increased or not on their goal.
Goal setting is tremendously important. I think goal setting is another one of those life skills that we just have to teach our kids no matter what. Whether it's a classroom or a basketball court or a football field or a job application or high school or college, we set goals because we want to just strive to be better. So what the kids will find is, I'm honest and I just struggle at this and I want to get better. And so that goal setting allows them to not only reach a goal, but then to turn around and set another goal, to set another goal, to set another goal. It just is a kind of stepping stone process to success.
We really owe it to our teachers for taking this idea of teaching students in a more student-centered way and implementing these bookend lessons. They've taken and ran with it. We're seeing lessons that are going well beyond what we would have ever imagined. And I think what's most intriguing to me to learn from them about is just how they're applying it at different age levels.
I think it looks differently in each classroom. With our kindergarten students, the teacher is definitely the facilitator. There's lots of support and involvement, and when we get to our third graders, we're able to release that responsibility to our students. They're getting to know the language and the attributes more, and so we're able to sort of gradually release that responsibility to them to be the leaders.
I observed a second grade classroom in a bookend lesson, and it was a science lesson, and they were sorting different objects related to their properties and their characteristics. The students were in small groups. They took time first to sort their objects, one person in the team, and then the other teammates asked them questions. They had to be risk takers. They had to be able to collaborate with one another, and they had to be able to ask questions that would be supportive to their learning. So the teacher was completely stepped aside, allowed them to do that, and then they came back together, and then they rated themselves again, and they set goals for the future.
The jigsaw we've done before, we took a larger text and we broke it up to different literary elements. Each group was responsible for a different literary element. We came back together, and I think they felt pretty proud of themselves because they were able to come back and be the experts and show the rest of their classmates what they knew. That was probably one that I felt that I could really see their sense of accomplishment and their sense of pride after they were done with that lesson.
One of my favorite lessons it's called a chalk talk, and students are able to walk around the classroom, answer open-ended questions. They need to think deeper, they need to respond thoughtfully, and they need to read the responses of their classmates. All of this is done completely silent. So they're walking around, they're reading, they're thinking, they're responding. But the best part is it really teaches them what they can do independently. And to us, that was a real confidence booster.
And teachers get a ton of feedback off the rubrics for the kids. They have a reflection piece. A lot of the teachers here have added a reflection piece, even for themselves. So what did you like about this bookend lesson? What didn't you like? And then teachers have been talking with one another about what are we using on our rubric?
So when my students complete a bookend lesson, they do a pre-Google form and a post-Google form. So they tell me in the beginning how they're feeling, if they think they're going to be able to do the skill like oral communication, where they're at in the day. They complete the bookend lesson, and then they log in and they do the same Google form over, and they let me know, how did I perform? How was I feeling about it? And they're very honest. And it gives them motivation where they can be honest with me, and they also have student voice because they'll say, Mrs. Kingus, you gave me way too hard of a problem. Don't ever do that again. And so that allows me to hear from them and learn from them.
So they're very honest with their feedback, and I really look at that when I plan the next bookend lesson.
And 2 students really just led the card sort and the conversation, and another student really didn't speak up much. So when we came back and reflected on that rubric, the student who didn't speak much said, I really didn't get a chance to share. I didn't really feel heard. And the other students realized collaborating is not only sharing your ideas, but it's asking for others' ideas and their input. And I think that was pretty powerful for them to hear.
The end of the book end is, did you improve? And they put a new number in a new box. They have a before number and an after. And then they have to qualify that with a statement. I moved up to a 7 because I listened whenever anybody in my group spoke to me.
I'm a firm believer we got to put our kids in the driver's seat. I like to use that metaphor. I'm the driver's training instructor. I'm just sitting here next to you. I'm guiding you. I'm making suggestions. I'm keeping you between the curbs. But you're really the driver. So let's go. Let's start down this road. And honestly, when kids feel like they have a part of the lesson, they feel like they have a part of the classroom, they feel connected and involved, they're going to find success so much quicker.
There are hundreds of strategies, and even the strategies within the card deck, teachers are not limited to. They can use whatever awesome strategy they learned throughout their career.
I teach algebra. It's not necessarily algebra focused. It is more of a personal goal, something to strive at that they need to be good at regardless. So today in our Bookend lesson we did participation, active participation. January, February, March, part of the school year. This is a tough part of the year. We've been at the grind for a while. Kids are starting to lose focus, so I thought today, with our activity, we would focus on that lesson, and it did help. And we kept that idea in the forefront, and they were more focused, I think, because in the back of their head, they know that that's what they were trying to think about throughout the lesson, and it helped.
And so when you do a bookend lesson, you're giving them a repeated opportunity to collaborate with their peers, and they can't just quit. Their peers are relying on them. They're in a team, so they have to develop that perseverance using grit.
I have a student with limited verbal capabilities, but he was able to do the card sort. The other students were encouraging him and helping him along and celebrating his successes. So we were able to bring all students to the table, not just those that perhaps may be more academically inclined.
I have one friend, and if he does not feel like he's the winner or the best star of the show, it's very difficult for him. So Bookend Lessons have been a new kind of project or way of learning because he can't dominate the group conversation. And so instead of him, being the boss, I heard him listen for the first time ever, and that was huge. That's almost a flip of the script. Often you see students step out of their shell, but I was happy to see one who did something different and was ready to hear other people.
We've been working on collaboration, and I've noticed with one student in particular, she's a resource student, and she never spoke up, never participated. And even with when we do a fishbowl activity, she's joining the group, she's collaborating. You walk by and you can hear her use that language within the group, and her scores are going up. I'm amazed at how much growth she's made so far this year.
The growth of a class in communication skills, the growth of a class in collaboration, and just knowing that where they were in the beginning of the year versus now, or where they are in second grade and then coming into ninth grade, I think that's the standout story.
Pick something that your kids are lacking in. Go to the rubrics. It's super easy to find. If you're struggling to find it, I just typed in New Tech Bookend rubric, and the website came up instantly. Clicked on it, and I just went through and thought, okay, agency is what I was looking for, and I just found something I wanted to focus on, and I just copied and pasted it on my PowerPoint, and we got started. It's not a big a hurdle as you think it's going to be. Just give it a shot and see what happens. And the debrief is, that last 5-10 minutes is powerful.
Having this initiative being done throughout the entire district is such a huge advantage for our Bay City Schools students. The fact that the kids in elementary are already learning how to effectively collaborate and self-reflect at a young age, it's going to be huge by the time the kids get to middle school and high school. We're going to have some really great kids come out of this district because of that.
It's a common language now for everyone, for the entire district, and teachers are supporting one another because we're all in this together, trying to achieve something for the students, and it's all about them. We're working towards a common goal.
I think it gives our district a common language, K through 12, so my students leaving McAleer, whether they go to Western or whether they go to Handy, they have a common language about learner-centered learning.
I like it because it's used K-12, and the language becomes familiar from one grade level to the next, we can continue to build on it.
It's exciting to see right now just the progress we've made from where we started. Our kiddos know what collaboration is. They know what communication is. They're understanding agency. This language is becoming common language to them as we learn and grow in this process ourselves.
K-1-2 is a heavy lift with the bookend lessons, but they've been knocking it out of the park.
This crosses boundary lines, right? Like this is a goal that we all have for our students, whether it be teachers or principals or business leaders. This is what the community wants: is a uniform educational program for all kids. And so this Bookend Lesson initiative and our emphasis on teaching in a student-centered way is our way to ensure that all students have that same experience as they navigate their school experience.
It's amazing to watch them. Honestly, the Bookend Lessons have been great to see that, right? To see the students doing all of the talking, all of the work. They're challenging each other, they're taking risks, they're having those conversations with each other that need to happen so that they can be ready for the future.
I think the students will be ready for the world. They're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate and problem solve, and things that you need to do in everyday life.
The rest of our community is going to be seeing this when they go to hire our kids that graduate from our district.
I think that sending our kids out not only with a plan, but then the skills to execute the plan is super important when we are sending graduates out into the world. I've been in our district for a really long time, and it's probably some of the most exciting work that I've done and been a part of in a really long time.
I think the way that Bay City Public Schools is integrating Bookend Lessons is allowing students to be in the driver's seat of their education.